No rules. Illegal cabins with $1 million views crop up along Oregon River. They've been there for a while. So these are on the Willamette River, looking back across the river, which is it's a beautiful river, with the exception of the garbage right at the shoreline. You know how that goes. All right. So anytime you got the homeless encampments, you got this kind of stuff going on, it's not going to be pretty. And that's why this is such a shame. And they've got literally these boom views right there of downtown Portland in all its glory. Some might say $1 million views. I don't think so. You'd be surprised at how much stuff still goes for in Portland. Still got, an economy that's going. You got jobs there. You got some rocky stuff. But right now, we've got illegal cabins that people are getting worked up about. Hey, they didn't get a building permit. What are they doing? Let's get into it. Let's find out what they've got going on. Here we go. No rules, illegal cabins with $1 million views crop up along Oregon River. Well, when they're building them in real time with scraps from the dumpster, always love that term. Really? You got that full window package deal there all around from the dumpster. For more than 5 years, Larry Purtle and Rick Scaramella have been watching from their condominium people living across the Willamette River in makeshift cabins, complete with doors and windows. Some have solar panels and all have $1 million view of downtown Portland. You know what? Let's just take a quickie peek, see here. Yeah, here we go. Here's kind of what you're looking at. All right. We're just doing the slideshow. Okay. These are straight up cabins. I mean, yeah, these are not it's got a solar panel on top. I mean, some of these are more like, what you'd see a beaver build, one of those structures. I even saw where, a beaver dam had been broken up and it washed out a homeless encampment somewhere along one of these rivers here in Oregon. People are like, we didn't know the beavers could, let the logs loose, and this big torrent of water came down and washed all of our stuff away. Very disappointing. So yeah, you've literally got these cabins or these lean-tos in some of the cases. You go to the beach and, let's grab some driftwood and make a structure. I'll leave our mark here till the next big storm comes through and, just washes everything away. That is literally what folks are doing. And they're kind of living in that environment. It's not, it's not on the main road. It's shoreland, and railroad company doesn't want to take care of it. City doesn't want to take care of it. County doesn't want to take care of it. State doesn't work on it because everybody's got their hands full. So this community just kind of allows to just keep going. And why wouldn't it? I mean, they're living for free with $1 million views, right? Nextstar's Coin discovered the soil these cabins sit on is sort of a no man's land in the middle of a modern city. From their windows, they can see about 9 structures, Scaramella said. These are not tents. These are structures. The couple said they are concerned for the people living with no services and are worried there might be population going into the river. You think? I was thinking over the weekend, I was doing a bunch of yard work. It's springtime, I'm planting stuff and trying to get my lawn to come up in spots that I just clearly killed it last year. Had a bunch of snow, killed a bunch of our lawn. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And I was kind of thinking, for all this environmental stuff that we're having shoved down our throats, no electric cars, no gas heating, no gas hot water heater for you, all this stuff. And then I think about my experience at the homeless encampments, which are probably the worst environment for the environment, period. I mean, I can't think of a more toxic impact on the earth than a homeless encampment. I was thinking about 10, 20, 30 tons of garbage coming out of these encampments is normal. Fires, you name it, every type of toxicity is in these homeless encampments. And that's what the far left pushes for. We got to leave them there. Don't tear down their homes. And it's like, yeah, but you guys are the ones behind all this crazy climate change and whatnot. Why don't you work on that first? Why don't you work on some of the homeless encampments, just cleaning up the garbage? And then the other thing I went to is, Yeah, and then you've got Andrea Suarez and her crew that are literally out there picking up garbage for free via donations. We Heart Seattle. They need donations. They don't run on any government money. And they literally clean up hundreds of thousands of pounds of garbage. And then city leadership says, yeah, you can't do that. I mean, you're throwing away people's good stuff. You're throwing away people's homes. Now, there were tents that were given to them because they're whacked out drug addicts. And, we're so compassionate. We're not going to allow them just to allow to sleep on the sidewalk. We're going to allow them to go into a tent and then they can shoot up and, kill themselves there. That's compassion, right? The cabins are hard to reach. They're isolated by the adjacent Union Pacific rail yard. A KOIN reporter traveled there by boat to get a closer look with hopes of speaking with people living in the shacks. It's kind of like, people underneath the streets of Las Vegas, like the Las Vegas rodent people or something like that. I'm always a sucker for storylines like that because I'm like, yeah, take me down there with your camera. I want to see what it looks like, right? I just want to see different lifestyles, right? There are other structures made out of driftwood, which resemble beaver dams. One man seen coming and going from one of them declined to chat. He's got his nice little beaver dam house set up. He doesn't want to lose it. It's not good. You get on, worldwide news because you're living for free in an area that would otherwise cost, a lot of money to set up shop and just hang out there. You're doing it for free. I'd say, yep, no comment. I'm just going to keep on going too. Further downriver, the news crew saw other living structures and garbage strewn along the shore, including a boat with no trailer, a motorcycle, and tarps. The inevitable tarps, especially here in the Pacific Northwest, because you got that whole rain thing for 10 months out of the year, right? On the beach in front of the nearby Daimler Truck North America headquarters was a woman who only gave her first name, Paula. All right, so let's take a quick look. We'll get back to Paula, but I just wanted to kind of show you exactly where this is. So here we go. Here's the Daimler Truck North America headquarters. It's kind of right in here. It's on the shores of the Willamette River. Here's your Pearl District. This is where the REI is closing down. Here's Old Town, which is right in the heart of downtown. And that's where it is. So right in here is where all the protests took place. So this is just to the north and to the west, just a little bit, but it's right on the Willamette River, just outside of downtown Portland. So, this is close in. So people are pissed. So let's get back to Paula. What's Paula up to? Paula has lived at her spot off and on for about a year and a half and admitted sometimes it's rough. Her life was set off course after a devastating breakup, she said. I have anxiety issues, and I think I have personality disorders too that I'm dealing with. I think that's what's keeping me out here so long. All right. Paula admitted that she's addicted to meth. Now, it's not a personality disorder, so to speak. I mean, you can have those, but oftentimes if you're not on drugs, you're not going to be in these areas where it's so conducive to doing drugs. Because you're right, it is tough. You don't have a restroom, don't have running water. You're just pooping in the river, dumping all your garbage in the river. I mean, that's just gross. Needles, whatnot, fentanyl, whatever. This one's meth. So, okay. There's a few shelters I like. Paula is talking about shelters in Portland, right? They would have been great, except for the no drugs thing. That's part of the reason I wanted to read this article. I don't have a problem. Yeah. But I got a personality disorder and I'm whacked out on meth. But yeah, I'd love to go stay at one of those shelters, but they don't allow me to just do meth upon meth upon meth. It's a no-go. It's a hard no-go. So yeah, I'm a hard no-go going into the shelter. So I'm just going to stay out here where I can do exactly whatever the F I want. That's literally what she's saying, right? So that sucks. So she's saying the no drugs thing. So Paula, are we supposed to understand that you would go to a shelter and just do your drugs there and you'd be comfortable with that and you'd be okay with that? Okay. Well, I think the people who aren't on drugs would say no, but so much of what's going on in Portland is drug related, right? I mean, 90% of the homeless population is drug related. I don't know. 5? I guess it's 95%. So when you say that Portland has a homeless issue, It might, but it's not a homeless issue. It's an addiction issue. Paula is that example, right? I don't think drugs are my problem, she goes on to say, and tell Coin. I think my problem is I have no place to wash my hair and go to the bathroom. Let me read that again. I don't think drugs are my problem. I think my problem is no place to wash my hair and go to the bathroom. All right. So if you washed your hair and went to the bathroom like a normal human being would, not a whacked out meth addict on the shores of the Willamette River living off grid. If you were to get your hair washed and go to the bathroom, would it all be solved? Would it all be resolved? Of course not. This person's whacked out on meth, right? She isn't in the position to make a rational decision. And that's why allowing these people to live wherever the F they want is a hard no-go for me. Can't do that. Can't do that. But Portland has allowed that to happen. And this is what you get. You get your beautiful rivers desecrated with garbage, needles, half-ass structures. I mean, they're going to have to come in and, take a backhoe or whatever it is and just crank these things down and put them in a dumpster and haul them out. Yeah, it's shoreline area. It's not exactly the easiest area to do a cleanup in, right? You get these big, heavy commercial, dump trucks and backhoes and whatnot. I don't know if you know, but they don't do all that weather right, right at the river's edge. Sometimes they get stuck because you got bogs in there. There are no bathroom facilities back upriver at the community of cabins. It's because you're living off grid, and that's why people want to live there. So who's in charge is the next segment here. It's not easy to figure out who regulates the shoreline. Is it the city? Is it the county? Is it the state? Is it the federal government and or private property owners? Pretty much everyone comes back and says that they don't have jurisdiction because it's Union Pacific. It's a railroad, Scaramella said. Property records show that this strip of beach along the Willamette River north of the Fremont Bridge appears to belong to Union Pacific. In an email, Union Pacific spokesperson Daryl Bioris said, this area is particularly challenging to enforce because cabins are near the water's edge. Under ordinary high water mark, common law, the boundary separating public land from private land is determined by natural fluctuations of the water, making it a legal gray area. These people are trespassing. Clearly. Railroad doesn't want to deal with it. Clearly. City's going to have to step in. City has the ability to bring police officers and clear this out. But because it's on basically private property, it's property of the railroad, they can't do that without consent from the railroad. Does the railroad want to take the whack, the optics of, hey, you're not letting our fellow human being just live wherever they want and do drugs. You're clearing them out. You're a terrible railroad, because that would happen in Portland, right? The Oregon Department of State Lands, which regulates rivers, declined an interview request. Spokesperson Ollie Ryan provided an email statement. Here's that statement. The bad news is at this point, it's hard to say if we have a role. I don't really know. Where public ownership of the riverbank bank ends and upland ownership begins, it's complicated. We don't really know. You know what? If something crazy were to happen, you'd know, and you'd get down there and you'd square it away and you'd clean it up. And that's what's going to happen. Something really bad's going to happen. Somebody, I don't know what that means. Somebody burns up in one of these cabins, and then all of a sudden, you get the edict from the governor, close that down. We look terrible. This is awful. Why are you guys allowing that to happen? That's literally what our governor did here in the state of Washington on the Ship Canal, homeless encampment sweep. Yeah. During the pandemic, it was, don't sweep anybody. Just let it go. Just let it fester. Let it bloom. And everybody did that. And, during the summer of 2020, everybody was like, no, we need to, let our fellow human being just do whatever they want, live wherever they want. Cause, communism thing, it's working out great. And that's where we want to go. That's where we want to head. So we didn't do any sweeps. Now we've got sweeps happening left and right because you've got criminal activity. When the homeless encampments continue to do their thing, all that is basically, criminal activity, drugs, you name it. just the whole thing, the whole drill. Hansen said property experts would need to visit the site and examine high and low water. No, you don't. Clear the effer out. Because that's what'll happen at the end. Something bad will happen, and there'll be a full court press on, get these guys out of here. It's terrible. Somebody else might get hurt doing this. City of Portland, which is in charge of cleaning up homeless camps, also declined an interview. The reason: this property belongs to Union Pacific, while other properties, Coyne saw, belong to the Port of Portland. So these people have a loophole. It's kind of like here in the state of Washington. You had all these homeless encampments underneath like interstates, because the state runs those areas. And if they're not going to clear them out, well, then they got to partner up with the city and bring in the Department of Transportation, all this stuff, and cops got to come and do this kind of stuff. So these normal entities like the Port of Portland, their job isn't to sweep out homeless encampments. That has fallen to the city. So that's why so much of this stuff is kind of in this gray area. And Union Pacific clearly just flat doesn't want to deal with it. They're like, you got these meandering water lines. It's, it goes down to the water line. These cabins they're built up a little bit. They're not sitting right on the river. They're close, but they're not right on it. So if somebody wanted to go in there and sweep them out, what is wrong with taking somebody who's trespassing and getting them off? I don't get it. It's not that hard, folks. It's like people are just too afraid to get in and do the right thing. Yeah, it might hurt the feelings of those who are living there, but they're trespassing illegally and they're dumping a bunch of crap into the river. What about the environment? Where you're living on a river and you've got no restroom? One of the big lawsuits that I was involved in as a professional witness back in the day as an appraiser was we had this beautiful little Lake Rosinger up in Snohomish. And Snohomish is to the north of me by about half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours of bad traffic. But you've got the Snoqualmie Mountains. It feeds this, beautiful lake with all this clear, beautiful runoff from the snow and ice from the summer. And all these cabins are built. They're kind of like they're just cabins. They're wreck cabins, but a lot of people live there. And so I was doing one on a cabin. It was probably a 2-bedroom, 1-bath cabin, probably 900 square feet. And the people that bought it were told, hey, yeah, it's got a septic system. Trust us. The contractor that owned it, builder that owned it, that flipped it. Yeah, he neglected to say that the septic system entailed a pipe discharging out into the middle of the lake, and said residents of the home shortly after they moved in and they're up there doing some laundry and taking a little swim and they're out in the lake and, hey, suds are coming up. This is really weird. Somebody takes a dump. Hey, is that poop? Oh, yeah. So it had a lawsuit from the standpoint of that cabin did not have an operating septic system. It had a jerry-rig septic system, and at least it had that. Yeah, putting it out in the middle of the lake instead of it just up on the shore. These folks, they're just going wherever. The builder lost out on that one, that story, and I can't remember how it ended. I believe the insurance company for the contractor had to probably pay some money. But that was one of those, this isn't pretty. Hey, you want to go swimming at Lake Rosinger? Yeah. Stuff like that's happened over the years though, right? Not all the human excrement ends up in the sewer. Sometimes it takes a little journey to get there, right? So nobody knows. And it doesn't sound like anybody really cares to do anything about this. It's just going to keep going. The area of the beach seen littered with garbage downriver from the cabin is an area called Lindbergh's Beach, owned by the Port of Portland. Several days after Coyne toured the area by boat, a joint effort between the City of Portland, the Oregon Department of State Lands, the Oregon Marine Board, Metro, and the Port of Portland pulled out 10 tons of debris and 2 abandoned boats. This is from a little bit area down river. 10 tons of debris. So you just know this beautiful wildlife area is just getting run over with just hideousness. But no, just let people live wherever they want, in their tents, in their structures, building their beaver dam houses. It was a massive effort, one that does not appear to be in the works for the community of cabins and the people who live in them. Multnomah County funds nonprofit organizations that do outreach with homeless people. A spokesman said it is possible one of the groups has contacted the people living in the cabins, but cannot say if that has happened. So, I mean, you've just basically you've got the Wild West in Portland. People living off grid wherever they want, but literally right there looking at the city. This is what it's come to. So this is a pretty major news story right now. I think because it's indicative of how off kilter things have gotten, where you can't even clean up, some of the most beautiful natural resources, the Willamette River. I mean, if you can't figure out how to keep people from living there illegally, what are you even doing? But the big problem, the more major problem, is that Portland has opened itself up to all kinds of instances where this has happened. But it typically happens in the city because that's where it's closer to the services and the drugs coming in, right? One of my thoughts was, wow, somebody must be doing like a DoorDash delivery of drugs to this little cabin community, to this, beaver cabin community. Because otherwise, how are people getting their meth? I mean, it's a long ways to go from there into downtown, into Old Town, or wherever it is you're going to, get your next hookup. Somebody's got to be bringing that stuff out, right? So you've just got, in Portland, you've got 900 encampments, something like that. I mean, it's a huge, huge number. And this is just one of them. But unfortunately, it's on, the Willamette River, not where people should be living. But people are going to be living because this situation has gotten so out of control that there's no reeling it in anytime soon. And even if this gets cleared out, they'll be back. They'll be back. Maybe they don't build the same type structures, but we had one structure off of Mercer Street in Seattle, and it got a lot of attention. Just one. I covered it. I podcasted on that. It's the one that had a woman's body. A 66-year-old woman was strangled to death and wrapped up in a blue tarp and then just dumped right by this one structure off of Mercer Street in Seattle, which, one of the main exit, on-ramp, off-ramp into downtown Seattle. We had this, building that had been built by a homeless person. They were just going to town. They put a, 3-tab comp roof on it. I mean, it's very delightful looking. It's waterproof. It's sealed up. They put, building paper down. The whole thing's wrapped. I mean, they've got it down. What we're doing here in Portland isn't exactly like that, but you've got multiple of these illegal cabins, and they're just so obvious to see. You just, that view that I used to look at. So in my mind, in the whole appraisal, mind, I'm like, I wonder how much these illegal cabins built by the homeless folks are impacting the value of these $1 million condos with their $1 million views. Got to be impacting it some, right? Got to be impacting it some. Not everybody wants to stare at this kind of stuff. And shenanigans happen out there, right? I mean, you just do. You just do. All right. So no rules, illegal cabins. Yep. For days in Portland. Because they don't have the resources to clear this up. Not going to happen. This stuff is not going to go away anytime soon. So all this stuff about the environment, why don't you start with this kind of stuff? This actually makes sense to me. That'll never happen. Far too reasonable. Thanks for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Love to have you subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit the like button if you like this. Check us out on Discord. Got a lot of people on Discord. We got some free stuff going on there. Check it out. We got some good stuff. Also, I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.